Hey everyone, it's your friend Heather here, and here is a video of me sharing my testimony with you guys. And I hope that you guys really enjoy this. I put all my heart into this video and recording it and just sharing it from the bottom of my heart because you guys are my #1 supporters at this moment until the future. And if it wasn't for these people along this journey of my testimony, I wouldn't be here today and I wouldn't be able to share my testimony with you guys. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Okay. Hey everyone. So I want to talk about my family. And sorry if I'm not making eye contact with you because I'm like really nervous, but like also excited at the same time. And sorry about the background noise. It's the elevator in the back, so don't mind it. If you guys can hear it, sorry. But I'll try next time. So about my family, I want to say like half of them are Christians, half of them are not. On my mom's side, I believe like most of them are Christians, like they believe in God and they go to church and they believe in God, they read. And my dad's side though, they know God, but they don't have the spiritual level that I have, which is okay. Like, you know, like there's different waves of Christianity or different levels of Christianity, so they know there is God, but they don't have a personal relationship with them. I grew up in a town named Everett. It feels like it does not exist, but it does. Everett, Washington. And I lived there for 18 years. Like I've been living there for 18 years. And then I moved to, then I went to Portland for Bible school. And then right now, like I am in Napa, Idaho season, but the year that my amazing people found me, when I was 12 turning 13, so it would have to be, no, not 2011, it would be the summer 2014, but it was actually the spring 2014. There was these two people named Katie and Albina. And so the story behind it is there was these kids that told me like, oh, there's Yogi Bear people. And I'm like, and in our town there's usually some sketchy stuff happening, like drugs and criminal, like sometimes there was criminal stuff, but not all the time, but there could be once in a while. And they're like, oh, there's Yogi Bear people around. And I'm like thinking of the TV show, but no, they're not talking about the TV show. And so I'm like, okay, like show me next week, or you know, next time I'm outside. And they're like, okay, like on Monday, like after school, like come outside, they will be on the street. So I'm like, okay, you know, like listening to these kids that are younger than me. And so it was Monday, like afternoon, like after school, I came home and I was in middle school. I was a seventh grader, yeah, seventh grader, transitioning to 8th grade. I had to remember back in my brain. And so then I came outside and there they were, like, you know, the kids show me who they are, and these Yogi Bear, and it was a program. It was amazing. And they met me and they're like, oh, come to Yogi Bear. And I'm like, okay. So the next day I went to Yogi Bear and I saw, like, did their programs and stuff like that, and I was so amazed by it. And then they told me, like, I was like, by the time I turned 13, they're like, oh, you're kind of getting too big for it, like, you know, because usually 13-year-olds, they're like, oh, like, yeah, I want to do this, but like, you know, like I'm getting too old for it. And so they asked me, would you like to join our ministry? And I was like really nervous, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you know, I took that first step of faith and I said, yes, I would love to help you guys. And I'm that type of person like that. I'm wanting to help with people. And I started their ministry and like joining their ministry, start helping out, helping on Mondays and stuff, and just walking with people, walking with them, and just, you know, them speaking life into me. And then that summer, I left for the summer, and I was like working with family, like earning some money. And when I came back, they asked me like, "Oh, do you want to go to camp this summer?" And I saw like the camp name, and that's where my old church goes to every winter. But I never went in the winter time because my family were always poor and couldn't afford it. And so I was like, yes. So I thought this was an amazing opportunity. And it was of God's perfect timing. So I was like, yes. And my mom's like, do you have the money for it? And I was like, yes, Mom, because like, you know, I worked all summer for it. And I went. And so the only people that I knew when I was going to that camp was only Yogi Bear people. So I was pretty nervous, but I was excited at the same time. And I was very, very wild back then. Like, I'm a totally changed person. I was so wild back then. I went to this camp, and each day, like, I got to hear sermons, got to do activities, got to hang out with people, get to know people in my cabin group, and just like fellowship with people and get to know these people so much. And until then, it was the last night of youth camp. I did not want to leave. It was so amazing. Like, the worship was amazing. I didn't know how to pray until like they taught me how to pray. And we had like 2-3 hour prayer or whatever, like after sermon. I forgot how many hours it was because I was so focused on God. There was this girl named Tanya Gudev, and she was praying with me, and I did not have my hands up. And she was speaking like into my ear, like, Heather, like, you need to raise your hand up for surrender. You need to raise your hand up for surrender. And I just like, I don't know, like, I was so nervous. And so I raised my hand up, and I felt God's presence in me. Just like He was with me. His presence just come into my life and just lift everything that I had that was like a burden, or like I just felt so heavy on me. But then like God came and everything was lifted. Like I felt like as a feather. And then prayer was done, and I was in the front row because I was like hanging out with these young couples that were about to get married, I believe, at the time, and now they are now married. And this our youth pastor back then, like when I started, he saw me and he was like, let's all pray. He was speaking to me. I don't know what he was saying, but I was like, yes. I think he was asking me like if I was ready to dedicate my life to Christ, and that I need a prayer. And because I believe he saw me and like how broken I was. It was amazing. And when he said, everybody, let's lay hands on Heather, I thought everybody was gonna jump on me and like, you know, like but like no, like only the people around me lay their hands around me. And Dima Stroke, he was a youth pastor, and he put his hand like right here, and he was like praying for me, and I just bawled in tears. It was just like good tears, and it was such an amazing night. I will never forget that night. And it was this summer is gonna be 7 years ago, which is gonna be my 8th youth camp that I've been attending. And ever since then, after that, when I was in 8th grade in middle school, yeah, it was really tough year because that's when I dedicated my life to Christ and I wanted to have a personal relationship with God. But everybody, I understand, like when Jesus died on the cross, everybody was against him. I understood like how he felt, and I have that personal connection because 8th grade was a horrible year for me. Everybody was going against me, and it was a year that I wanted to commit suicide, but God has promised me during that time, whenever you go through rough time, I'm always here walking before you because there's always something greater up ahead, and I'm clearing the path away for you, and also I'm testing your faithfulness because like, which is amazing. And then so 8th grade was a year for me that I was fighting my battles, to like either be with the world or with God, and I wanted to be with God. That's all I ever wanted, was to be with God. And my high school year, it was growing. Like God was, I was starting to join ministry or youth camp. 6 months later, when it was December, there was a Christmas party, Yogi Bear Christmas party, and 4 months afterwards, it has to be either March or April, I started going to their youth services, and it was in Russian. It was in Russian, and so it was like, because I'm not Russian, and this is a Russian church, which is funny, which I don't know till this day why God has brought me to a Russian church, but I'm perfectly okay with that because I want to do God's will. So they had a translator, and they had translation. So sometimes I get the point of the sermons, and I just started hanging out with the youth. I started like communicating, and even though I was losing friends during my 8th grade year, God promised me that, like he promised me friends, and he did. I have amazing friends till these days. It's been amazing like year ever since I dedicated my life to Christ. Sophomore year, so like about a year and a half later, Andre, which is married to Tanya Gudev, invited me to church on Sundays because I was planning on starting school clubs, Bible school clubs at schools, and he went to the same school as I did, like a couple of years before I went there. So I told my mom, I was like, hey mom, like can I like, you know, this guy, he invited me, like he's a leader, and he invited me to their church, and like they're gonna pray about Bible school clubs. And my mom's like, yeah, like I'll take you there. And also it was on her way like to church, so it was like perfect. It was perfect, like all in God's plan. Okay. Dima was so excited to see me, and he's like, Heather, like, and you know, speaking in Russian, speaking in Russian into the church, and I was like, I was so embarrassment, and because I did not know anyone at the church except for like the people that I've probably met a couple times because of Yogi Bear or youth camp. And it was just like, I was like, oh my gosh, like all of these old people are staring at me, but it was okay. And so we got prayed for Bible school clubs. My sophomore year. That's most amazing. This church named Church of Truth, and their youth name is Generation for Truth, or G4T. And they have their, G4T has their yearly conference, you know, like youth conference. It happens in March or April, depending like on the weekend and like all that. And so I went to their conference, and I heard about their Bible school program called G4T internship. I did it, and I was like, oh, that's something I want to do. That's probably something I want to do after high school, because I can't recall, but I'm just like, oh, that's probably something I want to do. So I just kept it to myself, like, you know, just like think about it. And I asked people, I like went to the and like they had a session like about to talk more and like to find out more information about G4T internship, and there was this guy that I kind of liked, and he was part of the internship, and it was all fun, and like I learned information about it, and I'm like, okay, this is probably something I want to do. And I also asked them like about finances and stuff like that, because like again, my family was very poor and couldn't afford like most of the stuff I ever wanted, and I basically had to pay, like I had to find out like how to work like through family or something like that and pay the stuff that I wanted to do all by myself, and learn the information about it, hang out with the people, like my T4T, like my youth people, and hang out with people that were hosting us, and it was a fun, great time. Like I 100% recommend G4T conference every year, and also that's where I also like learned more about God, like how to have a personal relationship with Him. So, I prayed about it for 3 years. And my senior year, I knew I was definitely not going to go to college. I wanted to do a gap year so I can do Bible school. And so When the day of the application came, I asked Dima, I was like, Dima, I want to do Bible school. I want to do, like, I want to dedicate my life to God again. Like, I wanted to dedicate a lifetime to him, or dedicate a season to him, which was a full 9 months. And so I did. He blessed me. I applied for it. I got interviewed into it. And I was working my butt off to pay for this internship. I only paid like $1,200 out of pocket. Well, my parents did. I did help them with some of it. And I was planning on getting a job there because it's like, oh, it's $600 a month. I was planning on getting a job there. Nope. God did not provide me a job. And I was not lazy. I was actually working my butt off, like trying to find a job, trying to find, like, even babysit or anything. But no, God took care of me. Every month I was like, I only paid like probably about $50 like every month. But the people who were in charge of it, like, oh, don't worry, like someone like covered for your month. So, and like, I had donations, like, and the one time, like, I came home for like G4T intern's house, and like I found $300 underneath my pillow, and I'm like, God, and I just praised God. I was like, God, thank you so much for taking care of me. And that was part of his promise in the beginning, like, don't worry, I'll take care of you. Like, just keep on having faith in me and do my will, and everything will be in your everything will be in your glory. And it's just such amazing, like, what God can do. And overall, like, in Bible school, they said, whatever you put in, that's what you're going to receive out of it. I changed a lot. I definitely did. There were some hard times. There are some moments where I wanted to quit Bible school, but I'm not a quitter. I stayed strong and just kept my faith in God. Like, I got my internship paid off. And because of coronavirus, I did not get to go on a mission trip, but that's okay. I know God is calling me on a mission trips in the future. Just waiting for God's calling. Pretty much it about majority of my testimony and what the last 7 years of my life that has been with God, and it's been amazing. I would not regret like dedicating my life to Christ, because it's like, with him I had everything, but without him I had nothing. Like, before I had a personal relationship with him, I had nothing. Like, I was so broken. I was so, like, I felt so unworthiness. But once I found God, and once I found Christ in me, and what Jesus did on the cross for me and for everyone on this earth, I don't want nothing else. Anything else on this earth is so worthless to me, besides like telling people about Jesus, telling people about like what God has done in my life, that God can do in your guys' life. And it's just so amazing. Like, God can use us, and he wants to bless us. He wants to save every little children of this world. That's why God calls us to speak life into one another. It's part of my testimony. Sorry, it was like kind of serious, but here and there, like in videos, if I have nothing planned for the week, I do want to speak to you guys about Christianity and just my testimonies in life. And if you guys have any questions, like, to be honest, about the Bible, about Christianity life, about like practically anything, just leave a comment down below. I'm willing to answer them to you, comment back, and like talk back to you guys, or even make a video out of it, because I'm willing to have new ideas. Thank you so much for listening. Sorry it was such a long talk. See you guys next time on this video. Love you guys.